Alright you guys, so just gonna be a short review of Intermezzos. If I said it correctly, let me know. But basically, this is the large print book, so it was quite easy to get through. I thought it was very reminiscent of some of the post-war books that they released in the 80s and 90s. Before I get into a book I think would be a great version of this book, I guess not version, but another book I think that it's more aligned to my liking, I just want to go ahead and review this. I would give this 5 out of 10. The 4 points mostly is just for the classical post-war style introspective way of writing. I do not like some of the writing that I see like in romance novels in the early 2000s to late 2020s. I find that it's like lacking in substance. You don't really get a really good understanding of the characters. The characters are like one-dimensional, two-dimensional at most. As far as like social themes, I think it does a decent job doing the standard themes of class, neoliberalism, all that's liberal arts, and you know, class stuff. Do I think it's dynamic? No. Do I think it's like super interesting or great? No. I do think and appreciate the editor, and I appreciate her using the more classical literary ways of telling a story as far as like introspective and how to progress the story and sort of the inner thoughts. There is this weird thing that's going on with like older women, younger men kind of concepts that somehow integrated in and makes me think of the Roman Empire. But that maybe is just because I'm reading a book that's kind of like based on the Roman Empire. I won't get into that video, but I'll get into the next one that's on my reading list. But it's like this continuous energy, and that goes into what I think would be or more of my style of like reading for enjoyment. I read this because everyone was talking about it and I was like, okay, I'll read it. And that's White Palace, and that's a movie that they made with Susan Sarandon and I think Kevin I think it's the guy from like Stargate. I find that more interesting. It talks about class, talks about age. You'll get a little bit of mythology in there also. You'll get some more interesting themes in the book. The movie is more based and more concentrated on like the age gap, which I think this is like really exploring to like the T. I also think that the 30-year-olds act like they're 60 years, like 40-year-olds, but I guess like people in like a higher, but then again, the lady who is supposed to be on the lower end of class also thinks the same way, which I guess is very different from like the millennials that exist now. It's just a weird way of thinking. So yeah, and it's just like some concepts, but maybe I'll write that in the blog about some passages in there that I find very interesting. But yeah, I don't really give it a high star. As far as like the story, I don't think it's that interesting. But I mean, if you want an easy read, this would be a great book. And to get it in large print, it's awesome.